All right, guys, something big is going on. They are getting prepared for something big, and I think I might have figured out potentially what they are getting prepared for. All right, this is a prediction of what could happen. I'm not saying this is going to happen, but based on history and based on events that have happened in our country before, these have been some of the biggest events that have ever happened, biggest earthquakes that have ever happened inside of our country happened during a very similar time like this, where we saw very similar solar eclipses passing over almost the same region, creating a similar pattern. And soon after that, for a year after that, there were the biggest earthquakes that we've seen in US history, right? So this could be what we are going to see, and I want to break down all the evidence and my speculations here. I'm not saying this is going to happen, but this seems like this is what they're preparing for. All right, and things are so bad. This is what they're saying on the Jackson County, Missouri website. If this situation happen again, these mega quakes happen again, and the location of this, everything, it's very suspicious. If these megaquakes happen again, this is what they're saying on the Jackson County, Missouri website. Today, a rupture of the New Madrid fault on the magnitude of the 1811 and 1812 earthquakes could leave parts of St. Louis and Memphis, Tennessee uninhabitable. That's what they're warning of right now, and they're extremely worried, it seems like, about the New Madrid fault line. All right, so if you've never heard of that, there is actually a seismic fault line inside of Missouri. Okay, it's kind of one of these places you don't really think about it, but there is a major fault line inside of Missouri, and these earthquakes that happened in 1811 and 1812 came right after these two solar eclipses that crossed the country in a very similar path. And these were devastating, and these were some of the biggest ones that we've seen in our country's history. So I want you to look at this current map of the current solar eclipse that's going to be passing on April 8th, 2024. All right, this is the current path crossed with the path that was exactly 7 years ago in 2017 of the previous path of the solar eclipse as well, that happened in 2017. All right, so these two paths are intersecting and crossing, and right under the intersect is the New Madrid fault line in Missouri. Okay, and this fault line is responsible for some of the most devastating earthquakes in our history, and it wiped out entire towns. It caused the Mississippi River to run backwards. This is serious, and it caused the creation of a major lake called Reelfoot Lake. And this could be why we are seeing all these executive orders being signed, all these emergencies being declared. They're declaring disaster declarations in all these places like Texas and all these different states. Ohio, the governor just signed an executive order for this emergency, right? And they're talking about they need to protect the safety and well-being of their people. Right, so this is very serious. They're declaring disaster declarations. They're deploying the National Guard. So they are being prepared for something big, right? And I'm not saying this is going to happen, but they're saying geological experts predict that there is a 7 to 10% chance of seeing a duplication of the 1811 and 1812 earthquakes from the New Madrid fault line. There's a 10% chance in the next 50 years, right? And there was a very similar solar eclipse pattern in the years 1811 and 1806, right? So it says on June 16th, 1806 is when the first solar eclipse occurred, and the second one, completing the X, on September 17th, 1811 occurred. It says the intersection happened over the New Madrid fault area, which includes areas from Cairo in southern Illinois to nearby New Madrid, Missouri. Right? It says on December 18th or December 16th, 1811, just 3 months after the second solar eclipse, a series of devastating earthquakes struck along the New Madrid fault line. The following quote comes from the New Madrid, Missouri website. Quote, "The New Madrid earthquakes were the biggest earthquakes in American history. They occurred in the central Mississippi Valley, but were felt as far away as New York City, Boston, Montreal, and Washington, D.C. President James Madison and his wife Dolly felt them in the White House. Church bells rang in Boston. From December 16th, 1811 through March 1812, there were over 2,000 earthquakes in the central Midwest and between 6,000 to 10,000 earthquakes in the Bootheel of Missouri, where the New Madrid fault line is located, near the junction of the Ohio and Mississippi rivers." Right? It says, "In the known history of the world, no other earthquakes have lasted so long or produced so much evidence of damage as the New Madrid earthquakes." Right? It says 3 of the earthquakes are on the list as America's top earthquakes. The first one on December 16th, 1811, with a magnitude of 8.1. The second on January 23rd, 1812, of 7.8. And the third on February 7th, 1812, measured at 8.8. 8.8. And that's why they're warning on this website, this county, Jackson County, Missouri website, that it would make St. Louis and Memphis, Tennessee uninhabitable if these earthquakes hit. All right, so this is big. This is big, and we could see something like this reoccur. And it might not happen right away. It could happen right away, but it might take months for this to play out. Because when there's even evidence of this, they've done studies of this when, and it makes sense, think about it. The moon controls our tides. It moves all the water around, all around the earth, moves around just the moon alone. So now the moon and the sun and the earth are all aligned. So the gravitational pull is all going to be in one spot for the water and for the earth. Okay. And there's also tons of water inside the earth as well. Think about all the deep underground aquifers. There are entire underground lakes, rivers, all these things that are deep underground, and these are going to be affected as well. The water inside of them are going to be moved and shifted. And the earth itself, the crust itself, could be affected by these gravitational pulls and be altered, be disturbed, right? And I was reporting on just recently how they're getting prepared for a major earthquake in Alaska. They were simulating the U.S. military and the National Guard a 9.2 earthquake in Alaska, which could cause cascading events down the west coast belts of the United States. All right, so this is huge. And there's a lot of other strange things going on as well. When there was all these tornadoes and storms going on in Ohio, right? Devastating what's going on there. It's major disaster, right? Mass casualty event, all this stuff that's going on there. Very devastating, the tornadoes and the weather that has wiped out parts of Ohio. And when you look at a lightning map, when these things were happening, there was a giant lightning map of stretching out, spanning where this eclipse would be, the path of the eclipse, as well as spanning over multiple states where lightning was striking. All right, so something's going on. Something's going on. And these elites and these very old school families that have been around a long time, that have a lot of power, control a lot of the, pull a lot of the strings, right? They know about these cycles. They know about these disaster cycles and these events. And this could be part of the reason why they're so reckless and destructive, is because they know that they might not be held accountable because we could be entering a major disaster cycle where all this stuff's not going to really matter anymore. All right, if the grid gets wiped out, if there's a major coronal mass ejection, right, fries the grid, if our atmosphere is weakened, which is happening right now, right, it's weakening at an accelerated rate, then all these things don't really matter, right? And this could be part of these cycles that happen every few hundred years, 500 years, 1,000 years. And before, they didn't really affect people much because there were no electronics, there weren't as many people, and it might have been written off as something else. It was just, who knows, right? But they could know about these cycles and could be hiding what's really coming next as well, right? So this is also very suspicious of the pathway, of the name of all the places that are going to be in the pathway of this eclipse as well. Something that I thought was very strange is that there are multiple cities named Nineveh that are in the pathway of this eclipse. There's a Nineveh, Texas. There's a Nineveh, Indiana, a Nineveh, New York, all right in the direct pathway of this eclipse, right in the 100% pathway. So I thought that was very telling as well, and it just seems like something big could happen, right? There's also a Palestine, Texas, that's in the pathway of this as well, right near Nineveh, Texas. I noticed it because I was looking at Nineveh, Texas, and then I saw Palestine, Texas right next to it in the same pathway. So very strange, very suspicious, and we should be on red alert. And if you don't know what Nineveh is, that is the town in the Bible where Jonah tried to escape and not do what God was telling him to do. God was telling him to warn the people and tell the people to turn towards God and to stop what they're doing, but he didn't want to deal with it. He didn't want to deal with that. He didn't want to deal with what he was being called to do. And he tried to run away, and that's where you get Jonah and the whale. He was swallowed by a whale and brought back to Nineveh. And then he told the people they need to turn towards God. All right, so I'm not saying this is going to happen, but it's all very, very strange. All these coincidences over and over. And when I saw this X marks the spot here, all right, it instantly stood out that this is the New Madrid fault line where this is crossing. So make sure you guys are getting prepared. Make sure you guys are getting stocked up. We are seeing a lot of coincidences. There's also other talk. People are worried about things like there's mass gatherings here and people could get stuck, right? There's going to be, last time we had an eclipse like this, the 2017 one, a lot of the shelves were empty for people, all right? They weren't able to, there was nothing there because there were thousands of people rushing in to see into these small little towns that normally can't handle the influx, all right? So there definitely could be shortages. You need to be stocked up. And if there is a major disaster, then you really need to be stocked up. All right, so make sure you have your prepper pantry ready to go. At least have weeks worth of food. I know most of you guys watching have months, years. Some of you guys have enough for your grandkids and your great grandkids to eat, still be eating, right? But average person at least have a couple weeks worth of food, just canned food, dry food, whatever, anything that you can eat in case this is bad, in case this is really bad. Because think about it, if this earthquake hits while there are thousands and thousands of people here, tens of thousands influxing, hundreds of thousands some places like St. Louis and Memphis, right, then we could see mass casualty events. They're saying it could make it uninhabitable. That's on the Jackson County, Missouri website. All right, so something you need to be thinking about. And if it happens, it happens. There's really nothing you can do. There's nothing you can do. You just need to be prepared and hope you survive the initial shock. And it's one of these things, this threat could last for a year. It didn't even hit right away when the solar eclipse happened. It hit a month later, 2 months later. And then we started getting major earthquakes every few months throughout the year. All right, so get prepared, get stocked up, have a generator. We could see grids knocked out, and cell phones are probably not going to work either, because there's going to be so many people in these areas where they normally don't have that much signal. There's normally not that much bandwidth sent to this area. It might be a rural area, small area. It's not getting as much bandwidth as a densely populated city, and your phone just might not work. Right? That's another thing. So if there is an emergency, you might not be able to call anyone. People might not be able to get to you. People were also reporting that it took them hours. This one guy said it took him 6 hours to drive 100 miles to get out of this area for South Carolina when this happened in 2017. All right, so that's another thing. You could be trapped on the roads. You could not be able to really leave your house, go to the store if there's so many people around, especially when it's over, trying to leave. And you should have your gas tanks filled up, right? That's another thing. Just be prepared. Be on high alert. Be ready. Let's hope this isn't anything, but history does repeat itself. History always repeats itself. And especially with things like this, geological history, we need to be looking at it. And this could be what happens next. All right, so thank you guys. Hope you have big blessings. Hope you're prepared. Hope you're ready. If you're in these areas, they are telling people to be ready. And they are saying this is a once-in-a-lifetime event. That's what the governor of Ohio was saying about this event. So, once in a lifetime, be prepared, be ready, enjoy it too. It's going to be very cool. All right. Also, happy St. Patrick's Day. Gotta shout out St. Patrick's Day. My name's obviously Patrick. All right. If you guys didn't see that down there below, but I'm extremely Irish. All right. I love St. Patrick's Day. I love America, and I love the holiday. All right. Gotta wear some green. This is the only green shirt I can wear. I don't know if it shows up on camera good, but this shirt actually is green. Kind of looks a little brown in this camera shot, but it is green, I guarantee you, right? So so don't worry, guys, if you're worried if I'm wearing my green today. Don't worry. All right, so make sure you guys are prepared. Make sure you're ready. I remember the 2017 one, just seeing it. I wasn't in the direct path, but I remember seeing the partial eclipse, and it was amazing. It was awesome. I remember getting pictures of it. It was crazy. It was so cool, right? So enjoy it too. It's one of these things where God created all this stuff. All this stuff's in motion. If this is going to happen, it was planned to happen long ago, right? This eclipse, it's all planned out. The motion of the planets, motion of the moon, sun, the earth, it's already all planned out. So if this is what's supposed to happen, that's what's going to happen. All right, so get prepared, enjoy the eclipse, make sure you don't look at it directly. Make sure you get some of those special lenses or whatever, right, so you can look at it. Don't look at it with your bare eyes. I've heard people say they do it, all right, but it can damage your eyes potentially. So just be careful and enjoy it. Once in a lifetime event if you're living in these areas. So thank you guys. I hope you have big blessings. I hope you're safe and prepared, and I hope you have a big old blessed day.